interests, of course. Mic check.
1, 2.
Word up. Hello, friends. Host Derek here, host of Talking with Famous People. And I want to talk about universal ethics and God, because there's a good discussion going on in the thread of one of the videos that we put up recently. And it's basically going back and forth with Eccentric M and Jeremiah Fix, who are both Christians, arguing the Christian position, and Hijinks arguing well, let's see what Hijinks called themselves. I don't know the gender or anything, but which one is it on? All right, so they call themselves like some kind of something atheist or agnostic or something like that. So the point of this is that what we have here is a typically feeler thinker kind of dispute. I think what I want to do, though, is start this over, because I need to find the thing I'm looking for to reference before I actually start the video, instead of being a moron.
Maybe we should read it too before.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that why you're dressed like a priest again today?
No, it's because I wanted to get laid last night, so I dressed like a priest, because priests get laid easy.
What video
You're
is
dating the wrong demographic. You need to be dating young boys.
Oh, fuck, my bad. No wonder it didn't work.
But what video?
All right, it's this one. Awareness comes before being good. I was getting the link for it.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's a good one.
I've heard. I only have so much time in the day, though.
Sure. And this one is an interesting one, because it's my attempt to come clean about the fact that I'm more aware than people recognize, and that sometimes I take advantage of that.
I just assumed.
I know. I didn't think you were unaware of my awareness level. I just think that
I was unaware of your unawareness level. Actually, I was.
right. I'm both more unaware and more aware than people think.
It's aggravatingly inconsistent.
Right. I don't like being pinned down. I love being pinned down as I want to be pinned down. And I hate being pinned down as someone else wants to pin me down.
That's what she said.
She did say that.
But
She's always saying stuff. What?
What in the comments? There's
okay. It's
nothing.
At the bottom, pretty much. It's where.
Paper cutter?
Here, I'll pull it up on share screen.
Okay.
Okay. It's in the view all 8 replies section under Eccentric M. Now, I don't want to. Eccentric M.
He's the FI
FI Tool. He's an ENFP.
Oh, right.
So it's TI polar, which means you're banging your head against the wall. If you want to, I'm not trying to argue with him, though. I'm actually going to try to argue with Hijinks here, who eviscerates his nonsense. And then, all right. So basically, Eccentric M, in all that big paragraph, says morality exists, therefore God is real and Christian. And Hijinks says you fail to distinguish between good and bad as a moral issue versus good and bad as pleasure and pain. And so this is the comment I mostly want to respond to. But this assumes that things that cause pain are bad and things that cause pleasure are good. What is pain? What is pleasure? And why are pain and pleasure inherently bad and good, respectively? You're trying to derive an ought from an is here. Like, if I exterminated the entire human race, how can I determine if that's bad without tending to my personal feelings on the matter? I'm an FI user, says Hijinks. Well, I bet you're an FI user with it in the fourth or third slot, Hijinks. Or for a TI user, how do they determine if that it's somehow bad without referring to their own logical principles? The consequence of my action is that everyone is dead, but why is that bad to the universe? The stars in the sky don't align when I hug my brother, and meteors don't fall if I steal from a store. People sure like to dress subjective feelings in objective clothing and call it objective morality. I feel that humans are just desperate to find an objective meaning to their existence and fear what can become of pure freedom from those fictional universal strings we tie around our heart. I invite you to read this thread. It's a good discussion on the matter. Did I not start the video yet? I haven't started it. Why did I read it? Time starts now. Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People. I want to respond to Hijinks' comment here on the awareness comes before goodness video. Hijinks says, but this assumes that things that cause pain are bad and things that cause pleasure are good. But what is pain? What is pleasure? And why are pain and pleasure inherently bad or good, respectively? You're trying to derive an ought from an is here. For example, if I exterminated the entire human race, how can I determine if that's bad without tending to my personal feelings on the matter? Or for a TI user, how do they determine that it's somehow bad without referring to their own logical principles? The consequence of my action is that everyone is dead, but why is that bad to the universe? The stars in the sky don't align when I hug my brother, and meteors don't fall if I steal from a store. People sure like to dress subjective feelings in objective clothing and call it objective morality. I feel that humans are just desperate to find an objective meaning to their existence and fear what can become of pure freedom from these fictional universal strings we tie around our heart. Okay, so you think ENTP or INTP?
INTP.
They self-identify as an FI user.
It's just it's a moody teenage INTP.
Maybe. But the thing is, I think it raises some important questions, which is this is basically the moral relativist position is, come on already. You cannot tell me these things are absolute and significant given the scope of the universe and the fact that we can't even come to agreement on it and all blah, 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 that's not objective. That's a perfectly reasonable line of argumentation to make. And yet it's an inadequate way of parsing out morality because first we need to understand that morality means a couple of different things. On the one hand, it means what you can't do without being bad. On the other hand, it might mean what you have to do in order to be good. And on the third hand, it might refer to a we. So that's what makes morality kind of challenging, is that you've got your individual ethical responsibilities, which nobody denies. Thing is, you might try to claim they're not universal, but that doesn't change the fact that if you were given a shovel and said, "Here, beat this toddler's head in real quick, you'll get away with it. Don't worry about it. There'll be no consequences at all. You'll still experience massive consequences, unless you're a psychopath. You'll experience probably PTSD for the rest of your life after you've bashed that toddler's head in with a shovel." So there is an inherent human experiential quality to morality that can't be denied, because it is true, it is possible to traumatize somebody, and it is possible to not traumatize somebody. So on an experiential level, good and bad can be known through your own imagining of good and bad for yourself. If I experience emotional distress when I do harm to another, even if I think the harm is justified, I will err on the decision-making vector of my emotional response to it, because if I make somebody cry, I basically stop arguing right there. And I go, oops, I fucked up. And I do make people cry sometimes. Not too infrequently, actually. So that's how I know that I'm not a sociopath, is that I actually do feel bad. Like, I know what that feeling is. It's like, oh, fuck, look, are you okay? It's like that thing. And now that might not be proof for universal morality. I don't think it is at all. There are a lot of better proofs for universal morality than the one that is provided there. I would say that the best proof for universal morality is that the exception is an endorsement of slavery. That if you accept that you own your own body, then a universal morality naturally follows from it. If you don't accept that you own your own body, then you accept that it's not owned, or that it is unownable, or that it is owned by somebody else. But the fact is, by all meaningful definitions of ownership, we can own a body, namely our own, because we have control over it, we have sovereignty over it, we have ownership rights over it. And in fact, it's possible to own another person. We know that because there's been slavery. So it's not really a reasonable argument to say it's not possible to own a human being. It is possible. It's not really an argument to say that a human being is unowned, because the human being is being controlled, namely by the entity within it. So it's necessarily the case then that the issue of ownership is one that must be determined, and once determined, the universal morality logically follows. However, you might say, but that axiom itself it's not binary like that. You can't say that I'm either owned or unowned or whatever. I refuse to engage on that status at all. And there's no reason why we should be compelled to frame the thing by engaging on that status. Well, I don't know. At that point, you're just saying, let's pretend that let's neither of us use any logic at all. And then that doesn't get you anywhere. And Hijinks, it's your point that logic works against the universal morality. So it's kind of difficult for you to then dismiss a universal morality that's derived by appeal to axiomatic principles. Because if I can show you that what I just did, which is there's a set of alternatives, and a finite and complete set of alternatives, exhaustive set of alternatives regarding ownership in the body, which I did, then that destroys your axiom claim. Because after all, it's got to be something. That's the only axiom. That nothing has no identity at all. Thoughts, anybody?
I'm not impressed with the objection.
Which objection?
The original one that basically abstracts everything into no meaning.
You're talking about Hijinks' attempt to go, well, look, you're not distinguishing between good and bad and pleasure and pain, and if they're identical, then you're talking about that distinction?
Yeah, I mean, because if everything ceases to exist and there is no more people, what's it matter except to their subjective opinion? It's just, I don't know. I just am not impressed with taking the logic train just one more block.
Okay, well, I mean, the thing I would note is it's a fair critique to say that if there's an objective universal morality, then it should persist in the absence of human beings. It's not correct, but it's a reasonable enough argument to make. And the reason it's not correct is because it's a contradictory premises fallacy. You can't imagine there not being any human beings to observe something, because the thing that you're imagining unobserved by human beings is necessarily observed first by human beings
And
to be analyzed at all.
morality really it's kind of assumed that it only applies to human beings.
Well, I mean, I think in that way she was straw manning the universe.